Yeah, now they can hear us.
Now they can hear us.
That's
Good
sound.
morning
my
to the
this is
stream
gonna
this
be like
wonderful
one of those.
afternoon. Let's try that again. Good morning and welcome to this afternoon stream.
Hey
can you hear
guys.
us now?
So just checking in that we are all up and running. Okay, cool. So now we got it on. First thing first, we've got to talk about today is obviously the latest buzz that's all over the freaking internet.
Fat Shark's new goggles,
yes.
Or is it the Avatar goggle, or is it the Walk Snail goggle,
or what the heck is
it the Fly Woo goggle? Because now there's a fifth company involved.
Let's check this out. Check this out.
Come on, think! Finkel and Einhorn get it together. How? Why? All right, here we go. Answer's right there. Just gotta get some blood in the brain. Finkel and Einhorn. 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 Finkel. Einhorn. Finkel. Finkel. Einhorn and Finkel. Finkel and Einhorn. Let's face it, your master is a loser. Yoo-hoo! What the? That's it. That's it. Einhorn is Finkel. Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is a man. Oh my God! Einhorn is a man.
Oh no! So I don't know how many of you guys are brushing your teeth right now. Anyway, so just having fun with that. I suppose you guys have all seen that stream already.
I'm sure there's a lot of mixed opinions going on right now.
Yeah.
I've tried to pull this thing apart. Well, when I saw the initial ad for this and I looked at it, I said, please let this be DJI, because this is just going to solve everyone's problem on the spot.
Yeah.
And it turns out it's DJI without being DJI. And I don't say that like everyone's pretending it's not DJI. I think they're being honest when they say they didn't work directly with DJI. But it's quite clear that there's some licensing involved here. And it's the same hardware. I know there's a lot of speculation going on that it could have been the root hack.
Yes, I heard that one.
Yeah.
It was quite cool. I was like, okay, well that makes sense.
That really makes sense because they kind of know how the whole OcuSync system now works. So, like, this really honestly could just be a copy of the DJI system. But yeah, all fingers are pointing that down the line they are involved. To a point.
You know what? Why I agree with you to a sense is I watched Bardwell's interview with the Fat Shark CEO. What was his name? I can't remember. Anyway, and every time Bardwell would slightly diss DJI or say, yeah, but we're moving away, then he would be like, yeah, but that was quite a good thing. And he would be like backing up DJI with all his answers. He would be like pro DJI. And then I'm like, yeah, if it was a like snub towards DJI, there's no way this guy would have been so politically correct when it comes to the answers.
Yeah, I mean, the tile that they're showing now is there's a known relationship between DJI and Orca. I keep saying Orca, what's wrong with me? With Cadex. There was already licensing agreements with that, so there's already a relationship there of delivering hardware, selling it through an FPV dealer to the market. So that could have been the test ground. Everything else in terms, I mean, even if they literally copied the hardware and just put their own firmware on, I'm so excited about that. Because this means I don't have to buy a DJI goggle, which is far too big and heavy for my face.
I've got another question before you while you're finishing that. The whole hobby of FPV has been, you build your hobby, you crash it, right? That kind of stuff.
I'm asked.
And it's the open source proprietary kind of, that kind of stuff. Whereas DJI has always been like Mac, always closed. You can only do it nothing. So
and it expires.
Exactly, and then they're always forcing you to upgrade and all that kind of shit. So now the question that I'm trying to, is this going to be closed or is it going to still be open? Are we still going to be able to have the, what do they call it? The artboard, the
Canvas.
Canvas mode.
Yeah, canvas. Are we still be able to canvas? Are we still be able to customize our OSDs?
So if you've watched the initial Rotor Riot video where they've done the initial testing of it, you've seen that canvas mode is there, but they were very clear to say this is still alpha stage. They've got 2 months left in which they can perfect the software. And to take it a step back, that's what I'm doing, is I'm taking the looking glass and I'm not looking at this through what's been done the last year. Everything gets hyped like crazy. Look at Fat Shark's history. Whenever they released a goggle, you took that goggle out the freaking box, you put a battery in it, and you used it forever and a day. Only when new stuff came out. I mean, there's still people out there using 5-6-year-old Fat Sharks, and they're working like day one. And that's what we're after here in our community. And if Fat Shark's done anything, they've done their firmware, and it's just been like that. So now this is the first case where they're going to have to be a little bit more active, because they've always just released something and embedded. There's never been these rolling updates and this constant. What I love is that their hardware has always been chunky and it's quality. When you take that thing out, you feel like you've got what you paid for. And that's what we've been after and then missing for a long time. And now that we know we've actually got DJI-based hardware that they did all the hard work and research on and has now been copied and reused, that's great, because we know with DJI throwing the money that they threw into developing their HD systems, they were at the peak, the pinnacle of low latency HD transmission. There are other systems out there that can transmit HD, but it's the latency issue. I mean, camera people are using it every day, all the time to transmit their camera image to the director, but there is just too much latency. So with DJI being at the pinnacle, I mean, do you think Fat Shark with their little budget went and developed something better than DJI that involved ASIC development, chip development? No. But do you think they can get access to that hardware? Yes. It's happened, and here it is.
Rainer's just pointed out that it's his opinion that he doesn't care who makes it as long as they work.
That's whole thing.
I think that's the whole free-spirited approach to FPV. You get the guys who are all like, oh, it's got to be this, it's got to be this. But when you get guys that are like, dude, we're going to make things work and it's going to be good. Let's go.
And that's it. That's what I loved about Fat Shark and what I love about my Fat Sharks, and it's exactly that. The only issue I've had with mine in the last 4 years is the battery cable is worn out. I mean, really.
Yeah, closed system is we go, okay, hey, have a look at this.
Yeah.
Pay us a couple of million and you can have it. Another thing that I wanted to put my finger on was Chinese USA sanctions.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
Does this not bypass those sanctions? Because now it's not DJI anymore.
You're 100% correct. That was a big thing that was brought up. So DJI is somewhat banned from America, no manufacturing, and that could at any time be ripped out and your DJI product is suddenly useless in America. And as America is by far the biggest market in the world concerning FPV, they basically depict what happens. So yeah, this could just be a very simple power move to continue selling their product, because ultimately what's going to happen is it can be manufactured in the States. So made in the USA even, and off we go. So yeah, I fully agree that this is part of them. I wouldn't say it was the sole move. I think their issue is they realized that in order to reach all FPV people, you need to take DJI out of the name. Yeah. That was move one, and move two is, well, this bonus, hey, we get to bypass the sanctions.
Will you buy one, Ant?
Oh, hell yeah.
Are you putting a pre-order down?
No, I have other things to buy first. But definitely, I mean, I can't complain. I've always understood the purpose of DJI and what it does in terms of like the quick picture quality and being able to go into a bando, blah, blah, go down to the bottom floor and still have visual and all of that nonsense. And then, yeah, like analog for freestyle, yeah. But now that we like breaching into the commercial and understanding exactly now what it does and how it's going to benefit us there, I'm all for it because it's only going to benefit me. So I couldn't really do DJI because I really, as I say, mentioned before, I look like Batman with that bloody goggles on because it's so huge on my head, and giving me neck problems and stuff. So the fact that now they've done what I wanted, which is take DJI, just make it smaller, and off I go.
Yeah.
I'm ecstatic about that. So I'm just
I saw JB was like talking about like the bend and how Eastern faces are straighter and American faces are rounder and how they're going to get around that. And he pulled the freaking face mask off, and you can freaking go and mold your own face and put it on there.
And especially with me, I'm very little person. You know, it's like I don't even think I make 5 foot now. I realized I'm shrinking in my old age. But anyways.
So basically, you're flying higher than most of us then.
yeah. So stuff isn't really catered, especially on the goggle side. It's not catered for, which I find sad because I resemble a teenager person, and you want the teenagers coming into the hobby, and if goggles don't fit your face, then
so if we can somehow mold the goggles, that would be fantastic.
Well, they followed SkyZone with making the faceplates some easy and detachable. So what SkyZone does, it actually ships with 2 faceplates, a wide one and a narrow one. And then if you really wanted to, you could go and resin print yourself a custom faceplate, put your own foam on. So I know for a fact, and I say this proudly, Fat Shark wasn't listening. Because Fat Shark's never in their history listened to the community. They've always just done what they wanted.
Yeah.
This input that's come into Fat Shark has basically embedded it that now these goggles and anything forward will be based on what the community has said they want.
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of big noises now. I mean, if Orca is whispering in somebody's ear and DJI is whispering in somebody else's ear, there's a lot of noise coming through now. So I think we gain in the end, bottom line.
What I'm so
as
glad
pilots, we get the benefit.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that Fat Shark, all these companies now together as Fat Shark. I mean, obviously, because Red Cat is involved, Red Cat Holdings, there's a massive amount of money to throw around. So now they get access to this. It's easy to pay that licensing again without being Fat Shark. There's so many layers here.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad they went this route, looking at the DJI system as the comparator, because what Orca did is Orca went the HD0 route. And what HD0 has done and shown through and through is they are at their limit too. The only thing they can do is up VTX output power and extend your range a little bit. But in terms of picture quality in that system, that is it. That's the limit. But their goal is not picture quality. Their goal is low latency. Yeah. So that's your racer market. There is a massive market for them. And Orca's always been playing in the racing market as well. So that's why I'm not so surprised, especially in our little community. But in our community, analog was king for a long time. DJI helped a lot of heavy pockets get emptied out and blew a lot of minds, but it's never found its place properly except for in the commercial scene. But I've been for the last couple of months debating hard, what goggles? I want to upgrade, I need something for commercial, but I don't want to go DJI because now there's talks of new goggles and things decay and it's DJI and they keep screwing things up with firmware updates and locking you out, and I don't want to go HD0 because in essence it's not an improvement on my link quality, which is what I need.
Yeah, we need vision.
The moment this thing released, I'm upset. I do not need anything else. I'm not even considering thinking that there might be anything else in the future because I know that this system is going to deliver for.
And my biggest bugbear from the get-go of this sport has been visual.
Yeah.
And I mean, I remember I had that cucky little aerial or something. I can't remember what it was. I couldn't even fly around my park because my park's got that Wi-Fi stuff. I'd get to the bottom of my park and not be able to see anything.
Yeah.
So all right, fantastic. Well,
so I'm going to spit out some specs while we wrap up on the DJI goggle. So something to look forward to. So they have improved on the latency over the DJI equivalent. So it settles. It's got 2 modes, 720p and 1080p. In 720p mode, it sits at around 21-22 milliseconds, and in 1080p mode, it sits at around 40-44 milliseconds, whereas the DJI sits about 2-3 milliseconds higher in the same equivalent modes.
Okay, so it's faster than DJI.
So it's a little bit faster.
Okay.
So that was why they said it's a little bit better than the current competition. It's because they've improved on the RF link a little bit, but the firmware is still very alpha, so that can only get better. That was the big thing. It's definitely a digital new system, and the big one that they're incorporating is the canvas mode and the OSD. But one of the big things they're struggling with at the moment is when they use the canvas mode, it starts messing with the frame rates. So they are getting glitchy frames. So they've got 2 months to solve that. Confirmed 0 analog support on the goggles, 0 video output support. It's just got USB-C HDMI support basically. Which is great. Obviously, that's going to go out to external monitors, capture cards. So
well,
that's
you don't need that anymore because you just get a monitor that picks up the signal and you can do that on the side. You don't need it in your goggles.
100%.
Yeah.
And then it's got full 1080p screens. So yeah, I can't wait to order mine.
So wait, what's it weighing? Do you know?
The weight I don't know. I haven't actually gone and looked at that, but it's not going to be much heavier than the standard HDO2.
Because Egg's saying that his DJI goggles only weigh 127 grams more than his Sky Zone.
And the Fat Shark is actually quite a bit heavier than the Sky Zone to begin with, because when I hold Ans's goggle, it's a featherweight. It feels like I've got nothing in my hand.
Yeah.
You
got Sky Zone.
Yeah, that's why I went for Sky Zone, because of the lightness, because the Fat Sharks are also a bit heavy. Because the thing is, I don't think this applies to everyone. It literally just applies to me and the way I fly. I tend to have my head down. So with the lanyard,
you look down on people.
When I have my lanyard on and my goggles, I tend to, with the radio, pull the radio down, pull on my neck with the radio, and then have the heavier goggles. So it only, like for me, myself, I'm talking about myself here. Yeah, that's why I struggle with would struggle with that 127 grams more, because it's not actually 127, it's like 300, just because I've been pulling down on my lanyard. So that's, as I say, that really just only applies to me, because I fly like that.
Okay. Sweet. So when are we expecting it to hit South Africa? Do we know?
Don't get me started on that, because that means certain hobby shops have to buy them. Certain hobby shops have told us countless times they don't have money.
Hobby shops, go hobby shops. Hobby shops, when are we expecting them?
Yeah, we want batteries first though.
They release in June. If I don't see them in stock by latest August, October, I'm shopping elsewhere.
Okay, well that's a fact. I mean, and it's a simple process. I mean, if we can order them and get them in, then they should be able to do as well.
Yeah, if you've missed the bus with not knowing your market wanted them and we're ready to spend them, not my fault.
No, I think us guys are ready.
Yeah.
We all want to upgrade. Especially us guys who are flying a bit more commercially. We definitely want to be able to see better, and this is promising that answer. So
yeah.
Lekker. Okay, so what's next on our agenda?
Check out our agenda.
Sis. Oh, buddy, all good. Let me just check here to see what else is on our agenda here. So we've got.
I've got something we can talk about.
Go for it. Antennas.
Antennas when powering up a VTX.
Yes. So I was busy showing a video on my tube, and Peter came and said, "Dude, you're gonna fry your antenna." And I'm like, "Why would I fry my antenna? I'm sitting right next to it." And then I was like, I had this whole conversation, and I said, "Yeah, my thing is," and then I learned more. I went and did some research and spoke to some guru, and he gave me other advice. What happens? Tell me about this unplugging and plugging in your antenna.
So any regular VTX RF output system, when you remove the antenna, it doesn't break the output loop. It simply just introduces an extra load which is needed in order for the system not to overload the little RF chip. So any common VTX in that situation will basically suddenly overpower itself, and it's very likely that it can burn out. And it happens pretty quick. It's under a minute once it starts heating up. And that happens with a lot of cheaper VTXs. Now luckily we've gotten away with the TBS. They've written some code in to try and help protect it. When it starts, it basically powers itself down at a certain temperature, and that manages to save itself. So it just gets there quickly, so it keeps minimizing the output power as the temperature starts going up.
So there's actually an intelligent CPU or something inside that.
Yeah, it knows its own temperature, so it's able to keep track of that. So very clever and simple. But
go GPS.
The general rule is, you don't plug you don't power up a VTX without an antenna. It's supposed to be a sealed unit. And that's why now when you receive receivers and VTXs from TBS where the pigtail has been mounted, you'll see it's been glued on. Because as per FCC, you're not supposed to be removing that because it becomes a risk and you don't know actually what you're doing because you didn't realize there's a different load in the system, and by removing an antenna doesn't mean it stops transmitting.
Yeah.
And that you learn by doing your RF work and stuff. So us all learning as we go, and that's the simple whole reason.
So I've learned. So that won't happen. So Peter, if you're up there watching us, I'm sorry, you were right. I will no longer power on my quad without plugging in the aerial. That's fantastic. Okay, so
and that counts for your radio too. Anything, even your router. If you were blasting out Wi-Fi from your router to your phone, powering up that router without an antenna plugged in could be damaging the radio.
Sure. Okay, all right. So make sure that everything's connected before you push that button. I think Rayner's the kind of guy who would have burnt out a thing or two like that. It reminds me of somebody who would. I'm just putting it there, buddy.
I think anything with Rayner, it's a box of.
Yes, I'm just breaking. So now, in that same exercise, I was changing my motors, right? And a comment came through that you shouldn't run motors with different kV on the same quad. Now, I'm a hacker, right? I've always hacked. That's what I do. I just put things together and things work or they don't work, and then I figure out how they wire. So they worked, even though I have flown my Cine Rat with different motor strengths. Not at the moment. They all actually by mistake happen to be the same. But I mean, it's not like I went out and looked for it. But I have flown them with different KVs, and they've flown fine. Explain.
Quite simply, you're just relying on the flight controller. So the flight controller is going to spin up that motor, it's going to send the commands out, assuming everything is the same. But then that corner is either going to be lagging or it's going to be hyperactive. The KV was either higher or the KV was lower than what the other motors are. Now, because the system is so quick, you don't necessarily see the difference, but there are scenarios in which you could see the difference. So in a general environment, you might not notice the difference, but all that happens is if it's going to spin one motor slower or faster, the others will be compensated to keep the balance, because the balance of the quad is what's the focal point of the flight controller, and it does so by adjusting motors. It doesn't measure motors and then check for balance. So therefore you can change the motors. The whole system will basically just boil itself down to the slowest one and react within that. But it's not that simple. It still doesn't know that that motor is a different KV.
Right.
So when it applies the link, the motor is going to either react a bit slower or faster compared to the others, and it might cause a bit of a wobble or a jolt, or it'll show up in your tuning as extra prop wash, or an extra bit of a shake in a certain environment. But if you keep things within range, and the motor size is mostly the same and all of that, in most cases you wouldn't notice. A hardcore racer chasing times, yes, you will feel that.
Yeah.
In that sense. So it can be done. Many Frankenstein quads are never running the same stuff, and it's okay. It's been shown for many years. You can mix and match motors, you can mix and match props. Bar props with quad props and tri props, and the thing flies because it's constantly trying to balance itself. Is the quad happy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can hear it. And that's the next thing when you come into that thing of flying with an in-ear. I see you fly with an ear. So that you can actually hear what your body's sounding like when you're up in there. And the minute you hear something that's like out, you can go, okay, cool, bring it back in.
Yeah, as soon as a prop is out, there's an extra rev, the quad doesn't, a lot of it is in the idle speed and the throttle speed. If I hear momentarily a difference there compared to normal, then bring the quad and check what's going on.
Or you can do what I do, which is have an 18 kV in disguise on my 4S. Because the bulbs can be used the same. So my bulbs is 2450 kVs, and then the one bulb says 1800 kV, but it's not actually, it's just the bulb.
Oh, it's just the bulb.
It's just the bulb, yes,
It's the same, everything.
Everything's the same. It's just the 18 kV bulb.
Are you flying with sound in your ear?
No.
You don't fly with sound in your ear?
No, I'd like to, purely because, I push to be the best I can be in FPV, and if that's going to help me that little bit in my finesse and my precision in my freestyle, then I'll do that. It's for me, it's when you're in your car and you have the sub going in the background and the car's woo, 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 and you're driving. I've caught myself where I forgot to change gear and I'm revving the shit out of the car. And you're riding down the road with the music, and you only realize later, oh shit. So it's that same thing. You need to be able to hear what your car is doing or what your quad's doing in order to know what it's doing.
Yeah. No, basically, it's very, very cool. Go for capacitors. Tell me about capacitors. Why, when, where, why?
So is this Takalani that asked for this?
Where does that? Why have we got this here? Where does that thought come from? Why are we talking about capacitors?
So I fixed up something for Takalani recently, and then I put on a fresh cap, and he just said to me, obviously it popped back that he doesn't quite understand why 35 volt, why 50 volt. What's up with that? Why, when, why? The whole lot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to cover it at a basic level because
the capacitors you can go into an hour's conversation about.
Which capacitors? So there's different types. You've got low ESR, and then you've got sort of regular capacitors. Low ESR means it's got a low internal resistance, so it can charge itself up almost instantly, and it can discharge itself almost instantly. If you don't have that ability, the cap doesn't do filtering if it's going to hold on to the current needs. What I've managed to find is, apart from the names being able to tell them differently, if you look at the temperature on the side of the cap, a a cap that's not really good low ESR will probably be about 85 degrees max temperature. A low ESR cap is usually around 105. So that's a nice way to actually know if you're getting one and someone's trying to give you some random brand. The voltage. So most people think, well, if I'm plugging in a 25 volt battery, then I use a 25 volt cap. It'll work for a short moment, but caps are very volatile. It's a liquid inside, it's a liquid inside with some metal plates and some insulation, and that liquid does get affected. The higher the voltage, in terms of the limiting factor inside, is how they place those plates. So if you start getting to the limit of that plate, you're going to start getting little arcs and sparking, and then the liquid is going to start degrading. So the cap will degrade pretty quickly. It will work, but it's going to start degrading. So in electronics, the golden rule of thumb was double the voltage of the capacitor for whatever system you're going to use. So if it's a 20 volt system, you put a 40 volt cap. If you can't get a 40 volt, you put the 50 volt. So in that situation, you're like, okay, well, that's easy, because an electronic, putting it into a device, it's not that difficult to put the bigger size. But now quads, a 50 volt, 1000 microfarad capacitor is huge. It's huge. So it starts becoming an issue to put in. And we've got an option for a 35 volt. So at 35 volt, I'm still 10 volts above. If I try and think where the spikes would be around maybe 28 volts, 30 volts. So the cap should never be at max, but it's going to be driven hard. So what I generally do is, about every 6 or so months, if the cap starts showing that from general flying I've squished it and it's got a bit of wear and tear, I just keep refreshing the cap. I keep replacing it. And I've been using 35 volts for a long time, and I've never had the cap self-destruct because of over voltage. So yeah, the general rule of thumb is always use double the voltage, but because we are an FPV and we're worried about space,
we're trying to bring it
35
down.
volt has proven to work.
To be the best of the. Also, you don't want to go too small, because that thing bursting into flames up in the sky is spectacular, but it's very expensive.
It's rather crazy. So that's just the physicality around the cap and its voltage, and the only reason as to why you want to have a slightly higher voltage as to what the system would be. But then why are you installing the cap in the first place? We've got built-in caps on the ESCs. Why is it not enough? Why don't they just install that on the ESC? But it's because you're adding this XT lead. So all you guys that have got your cap at the top of the XT plug, the only thing it's doing is you're filtering the voltage and the current at the plug. Because noise comes from traveling down the wire. So the cap must always be installed at the thing after the current, the lines and everything have arrived. So that's why we always say you're going to stick the cap directly on the ESC. But in essence, that's actually incorrect, because a lot of guys have done that and they've still had issues with their video getting noise through. Why? Because now there's a wire still running, so you've got traces running through the ESC. Then you've got a little wire harness looping back up to the flight controller, and then you've got traces in the flight controller coming through before it's powering the chips for the OSD, and the video and all of that nonsense. So the cap did nothing for the flight controller.
Yeah.
It only provided filtering for the ESC. So if you were going to do it properly, you'd then install a little cap on the
So you
actual.
have 2 caps.
You'd have 2 caps.
Right,
You'd
but
need
we
to
don't have
actually
2
physically
caps.
put it. So luckily now the guys are starting to use regulator circuits on the flight controllers. So you don't actually realize that the cap you installed on the ESC is actually doing nothing for the flight controller. It's just helping it absorb those punches and reverse voltages and helping with that in the quad itself to provide stability in the power line. By
And it gives you
giving that little bit of
clearer
backup.
vision as well, because it's taking all that.
No,
Exactly.
if it's closer to the flight controller. So
Yeah.
in the 4-in-1 stack system, you don't see if the point of installing the cap was to get clear visual. You're going to struggle a bit.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, I've noticed when my cap came loose. I mean, I didn't even know I was flying,
Yeah.
and next minute my visual was like horrible, and it was going, and I'm like, what?
yeah.
Open it up, and the cap's come loose. So
And how I did it is on Ann's one quad, the power system in the flight controller was horrible. And I said to myself, even by putting a fancy cap on the back, it cleaned it up, but it wasn't perfect. And I said, but why? But it's because that battery voltage inside the flight controller was still being regulated down internally and then being sent to the chip. So there was noise being picked up after the cap, after the voltage was low. So I just went to the 5-volt rail and I installed a 10-volt 100 microfarad cap. I mean, the thing was small. Little 2 leads. I put it across the 5-volt in the ground pad, exactly where I connected the VTX, and that's the cleanest video I've ever seen out of that quad. And that was the place to put the cap, because as I give the power to the VTX, the power is now clean there because I put the cap there,
yeah.
and it works like a dream. Her video is crystal clear. There's nothing that upsets that video now, and it's a teeny tiny little cap added to the 5-volt rail on the flight controller, because the flight controller also had the PDB built in, so you'd solder the ESCs to the flight controller. So,
Why
interesting
don't
stuff.
I have wine like that? Okay. Takalani Salt, he's going to go 35 now, forever, from the upper one.
I'm just saying it's such a great advantage marrying someone who knows electronics.
Ooh, it was
Because everything.
alternative motives, yeah. Guys, be careful of who marries you. They might be marrying you for your FPV. You know the jokes online is always
Yeah.
like, don't tell the wife or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
well, dear wife, do not sell my FPV equipment for what I told you I bought it for. So you can't have any secrets here. That's brilliant. I'm happy with that.
So I think indirectly in most cases the guys, by just putting the caps on, it solved a lot of problems without knowing the actual gist of what was going on. Just getting lucky, but yeah, caps are ESC savers. That's their one job, and then the second job is to clean up the power for if you have unclean video issues. But I mean, TBS took care of that themselves. They put the 5-volt regulator in their VTX, so all you ever had to do was just power the VTX from any source, connect the camera to the VTX, and you always have crystal clear, regardless of what's happening in your mess of a power system.
Yeah. So talking about crystal clear vision, right?
Oh.
We had an experience a couple of weeks ago now, and we tried to show you guys that Raina, before we go on, Raina wants to know if you've got a sister.
Yeah, I'm busy
that's single.
replying. Yeah.
All right, cool. So listen, on that visual scene, we had a job the other day where we had to go and fly at Mandela Bridge, and last time we were live, we tried to show you, and it ended up being a bit of a balls up of a situation, but I think I might have it right now. So what happened was, okay, so I went and I did the DJI side of the things, and then yours truly over here, he did the FPV pod. And little did we know that bedded inside Mandela Bridge, in those uprights, we believe, are radio towers. Or there is something in those towers that are interfering. Have a look at this. That is exactly what Tommy was seeing trying to fly over the peak, over the uprights on Mandela Bridge. So the idea was to go around the bridge, go over the uprights, come down the other side, and then be able to circle the talent who was waiting with a
Yeah, with his black bag.
with a cell phone or something. Anyway, so, dude, walk us through this. What are you going through? Tell us about it.
I just got to calm down again. Just watching this now, my heart's already sitting in my throat, having to re-experience this. You never know what to expect, and the thing is, to get behind the... I mean, look at...
Dude, you got balls of steel, man. That's bottom line. That's all I'm saying. Is that to fly that and to not freak out. I would have disarmed hours ago. That's saying one speaking, but I mean, I would have gone nope, and I would have punched as high as I could to try and get my visual back. And wait, but yet you go the whole process, and you tell me what is going through your head.
I can only sum it down to possibly switch it back over there. Yeah. We discovered it by when we switched to commercial with the bike chasing. We're going into this hyper focus mode where we literally, the world outside shuts down, the brain ignores it, it cannot process it, there's no space left for it. And as soon as I took off, I knew, sort of approaching the bridge, the nerves are there, everything's there, but I've done this is not hard, it's a simple move, let's get through this. And as I turned that corner and went into the point of no return, leading up into the bridge, the director's in the goggles and he's waiting and the stress is there, and then I saw the visual sort of go. I just said to myself, you know what you're doing, give it a go, don't miss this. This is where all that practice sort of came in, and it took only after the fourth dive, I think, that I started settling a bit, because I started going a bit higher to try and avoid the noise. But it's just so deep in the focus that even though that was the visual, in my mind, I thought I still had 30% vision, because I was picking out those little bits that I could see. As soon as I saw two poles, I knew where I was, and then I would calm myself down. So if they're still there, no matter what's happening, my quad's not out there going like this. So just try and stay calm, put it through, and I knew by doing the first dive that the moment I peek over, my visual mostly comes back. The one I wasn't expecting though is when I got low behind him, following him in the bridge. The visual also went pear-shaped, and now I've got people around me. Remember, these people aren't actors. We only had one actor, the bridge wasn't shut down. These are regular, everyday oaks on their way to wherever. And yeah.
And exactly. And the crowd control was a security guard on one side saying, "Guys, be careful of the drone," and somebody else on the other side saying, "Stop."
That's pretty much all
I thought we just showed the guys what the actual footage looked like. We push play here before I go through. So guys, this is the final result of what Toby was seeing, but he didn't see this. We get to experience. This is the flight. So for you guys out there who's diving bridges, this is a bridge to dive. Please bear in mind that all protocols were covered. We had full permission, license, CAA, all that kind of stuff, just so that you know, putting it, making it clean.
Yeah, we do have a better shot of this. This was the first attempt. But
this is the whole flight. This is unedited. This is just as it came out of the Hero 10.
Reno wants to see the video where you power looped his bra with the bosses on it.
I don't remember power looping it, but I rode under
it.
You
did. I remember you going under it.
Yeah, that's in the Forkville video.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's up on YouTube.
Where's the link? You were sending the link.
Yeah, we'll find a link. Must I do that?
Yeah, pop the link in the chat there.
I'll be admin.
Oh yeah, so yeah, you can actually see me going back and doing multiple attempts. So even knowing that my visual's going...
Well, I think isn't it better knowing? When you get to the second time, you know it's going to happen, so you can prepare before you hit that static moment. So those uprights right there have definitely got some sort of radio frequency in them. And I believe it might be for just a signal for other pilots, other aircraft or something. But it's definitely not our friend.
Yeah. And unfortunately, every time I did the dive, I had the public coming to where my orbit was meant to be.
Yes, yeah.
Every single time.
Wow, you need to post more stuff.
I haven't posted in a while. I'm super...
Which one was it? Was it the one with the bikes?
Yeah, it's the one where we visited...
Yeah, but there's two videos here.
Oh dear. So yeah,
There we go.
there's the
That's
King
a
Dao.
nice one. That was the money shot right there.
That was the money shot.
That was really cool.
I just wanted to see, was this the one with the orbit as well? See, there comes my walking into my shot, so I had to bail.
No, they came in.
But that would have been the shot. So at least what I did for them is I just went straight back into the orbit, hoping that they would carry on walking, and they did. Interesting stuff.
There we go. Okay, so anyway, that particular advert that we're shooting for is going to be coming live in about a week's time, I think. So
I'm not sure if live, but the
yeah, I know
it's under.
it's below the line, so it's an internal communication. But the director did say he would give me a copy, so we could have a look at it. Maybe if we can show it off next week, we might.
We definitely, if we can, we will show it to you, and obviously our followers will get privy view. But we're super excited. We submitted the FPV just for the sake of go and have a look. Maybe it makes it. The DJI work was specifically requested, and you spent the whole day almost flying.
Yeah.
Well, that DJI worked its butt off.
Yeah, it did. We've had some beautiful shots.
Yeah.
Also, when we went online to find more shots of Mandela Bridge, it's very few, so we were very privileged to fly that. Now we're going to go to Golden Gate, we're going to go to London Bridge, we're going to go to Tower Bridge.
We're going to go to Ben's Bridge.
Yes, and there's that one in the east somewhere, that massive bridge, we're going to go fly that one.
Yeah. Now we've got something exciting coming up in the next, call it 3 weeks. I'm not going to divulge too much yet. We'll keep it a bit more exciting. The Nomads have been hired again.
We are buzzing under our skin, and we can't say too much. But when it does come out, you guys are going to be the first to know, because
you definitely
we love you.
But I can say it's another new, unique thing. It's
Yeah.
another fresh thing, another first for us in SA. And yeah, we're getting under the guys. We're getting the FPV under these noses. So this is exciting. Oh man, it's
Where's
hard
the
work.
link? You haven't posted a link. You just said link. You said link and you didn't post it.
I just did there.
Yeah, there's the link in the chat.
HTTPS.
Why am I not seeing it? Okay, I didn't get it.
If no one else is seeing the
Can
link,
you guys
just
see
let us
the
know.
link? Because Nerd said that she posted the link, and I'm not seeing it on my chat yet. So if it's there, put a thumbs up. If it's not, then just put thumbs down. Then we know. Next thing I want to talk about is okay, we've spoken about FPV stack standoffs. Standoff nuts. Talk to us about standoff nuts.
Something I've been doing for a long time, and I used my little bit of science knowledge around it, and that was whenever I put a long standoff screw, because obviously there were two ways you could do standoffs. One was you put a shorter screw you can, and then you use nylon standoffs to sort of build your tower.
The squishies.
Oh, no, not even the squishies, just the nylon nut with the extra thread on it, so you can put another one on. So that was a craze for a while, and what I liked about that was if you were in a big crash that ripped on your leads, it would break those nuts rather than rip your leads off your flight controller. But those things required a lot of maintenance because they kept coming loose, and it was a bit of a pain. We were constantly having to replace them, constantly. Then the other way is you put a long screw through the bottom, all the way to the top, everything lines up on the screws, whatever gummies you want in between, and off you go. But I noticed in doing that, a lot of people had vibration issues with their quads. So since the beginning, I just took it upon myself. I use steel nuts, because they often only ship you with nylock nuts. Even though they give you a steel screw, they only give you a nylock nut. So even a nylock nut on the steel screw through the carbon holding it into the frame is not going to hold it tight. That screw is going to be able to move like this. And if your flight controller is on that, those vibrations will come through. So the plain and simple of this is it's a steel nut holding that screw and the carbon fiber tight so that screw cannot shift at all. It's the cleanest, and it's now been shown by Chris Rosso doing the testing that it makes a huge impact just putting that golden nut on. I was maybe thinking let's try and get our hands on some actual physical golden looking ones and start dishing them out. But it's just that simple. If you want to clean up your quad a bit, have it fly a bit better, and you look at the stack and you don't have a steel nut at the bottom and a long screw, strip it, put that steel nut in, pull it fast, and you'll notice a difference. Plain and simple.
Lekker. So I'm just having to correspond with some people here that are all trying to get hold of us on the chat here.
Lapo.
Hard mount your stack. Egg FPV, he's laughing about that. He says it's like hard mount your stack. What does that mean? Tell me about that.
Oh, okay, so the whole hard mount, soft mount. So the hard mount, soft mount thing simply refers to whether your flight controller has a little bit of play in it in terms of being dampened. Hard mount means there's no dampening between the flight controller and the physical frame of the quad.
So if you're running a bad frame, you're going to feel it.
Yeah, you tapping on it will be felt. You slightly tapping on a dampened quad, that tap might be a 2-hour frequency and doesn't come through. So what this nut issue actually fixes is not a dampening versus non-dampening issue. It fixes incorrect movements and a tower rocking and shifting. That tower will always shift slower than the actual movement in the frame. So you're going to have a delayed response in your flight controller. That's why these quads fly so crap, and the actual stack is moving when it's not supposed to be moving.
All right.
So soft mounting is providing a dampened system. So in a Betaflight world, Betaflight's been around expecting a damp system. In the KISS world, as soon as you damp that system, the quad starts misbehaving. It's not hectic. Some guys still prefer the feel of it because they don't hard tune the quad. But as soon as you hard tune a damped quad, it starts misbehaving in the KISS environment. And that's because it wants the actual movement so it can mitigate the actual movement in the flight control. Whereas Betaflight has been set up to work sort of more in a damped sense in terms of how it expects those reactions and whatnot from the quad. And these flight controllers at the same time, when KISS builds a flight controller, they take into account this trace must be so far from that trace to avoid noise, this part must be here. Half of these flight controllers, they don't even consider that. They just find an open gap on the thing and they pluck it and they make it work. So there's excessive noise. So by dampening it, you almost ignore a whole group of information almost, or you dampen a system, but it then takes away from the end result. The more direct the system can be, the more better you can understand that system and push it to its limit. So that's where the damp. But yeah, I've been hard pressed to set up a fully hard mounted Betaflight quad. There are twitches that come through because that system doesn't like it. Whenever I've soft mounted a KISS system, the twitches come in. So that, I think, ultimately boils down to firmware and physical board design, which is why we do this.
So
It's
you're not
unrelated to
giving
the
us a yes
golden
or a no for hard or soft mounting yet.
Plain and simple, if you're running Betaflight, you're probably going to see most success in the soft mounted situation. In the KISS environment, you've got to see your most success with the hard mounted. If they don't work, you've got a different problem.
Yeah.
Raina, why don't you fly KISS? I thought you had like all the toys.
Because no one here can sell it. Don't get me started. They've had more than enough time to order it, but no.
Oh, jeez, eh?
The fact that we use it and can prove it so much better means nothing.
But Leon was flying there and he was bringing them in all by himself, I think. I remember him running KISS at one stage.
So the KISS that Leon was mostly using was the same KISS everybody's been using, and that's what Flying Robot kept at one stage. They haven't topped up that stock for a long time. Now the stuff that's coming out in the KISS environment, so the KISS environment got complex. KISS environment is now comprised of KISS Ultra, regular KISS, and FedTech. Regular KISS and FedTech is running the same firmware on the flight control side for the most part. They're going to feel and fly the same. KISS Ultra is a personal project run by Alex, which right now, because it's not so publicly available and easy, unless you're really in there following the guy, dreaming to, I don't know why you want to spend 6 months trying to get one flight controller. Move on with life. So it's nice that it exists. It's nice that it's the nicest flying out there, but the fact that we can't get them, really move on. And for the most part, 99% of us will not feel or notice the difference. So right now they're the king of the contender because Flightwino has never been good at producing stock and keeping stock up. So no one's to blame there other than the actual manufacturer. FedTech's come to the party, but yeah, since the release of the Ultra, FedTech went out of sale everywhere because it basically had brought KISS into the community. A lot of people didn't know about it because it is a very back thing. And it is supposed to be the easier setup thing, but where KISS punishes you is if you give it a bad quad. It'll punish you. It does not like bad hardware. It does not like excessive resonance. It does not like janky motors.
Betaflight's more forgiving.
Betaflight loves that. It eats that up all day long.
Okay.
And that's whenever you have to give up something hardware-wise, then it's your overall performance that degrades. And that's where Kiss said, we draw the line somewhere, but that's why it flies so nice out the box with minimal input.
Oh man, I'm trying to look for I got this brilliant meme the other day with this baby face going, what? 2 weeks? What? 2 weeks delivery? Man, I got some flying to do. Well, now I can't find it. There it is. I got it. There it is.
Dean Machine, just to reply to you quickly, at the beginning of the stream, we had a bit of a lacquer chat about the new goggle. You can definitely, if you didn't see that, you can pop through and check that out. But at the base of it, my personal opinion on this, it just solved everybody's problem. It's the best system you're going to see on the market for an extremely long time. It's taken out of the DJI system that everybody is not enjoying, and it's put it back in the FPV's hands. I can't wait to buy mine.
Yeah, Dream Machine, if you go back to the beginning of the conversation, the video, we were talking about it quite extensively. There. No man, don't do that. Show me the freaking picture. Open, copy, save image.
But John, just on the last thing maybe on the Kiss side, right now the best Kiss flight controller, if you want to try it out, is the Kiss FETEC G4. Because Kiss had an issue where you couldn't get OSD, so it overcomplicated the system. You had to buy extra boards for OSD and do this extra thing, and you couldn't talk to this ESC.
Or stay on V1 like I did.
Yeah, or stay on V1 through an R-Flight board, because they solved those problems themselves and incorporated Kiss. And it's so sad because certain people didn't think it would be a good board. That board saved anyway. But the FETEC G4 now has all of that integrated. So again, now it can work with any ESC. It's just a matter of changing the flight control, and you can now get into that subsystem. So we are definitely, as soon as we can, we are going to switch all of our stuff over to FETEC G4. I'm going to take my Kiss Ultra EFC. I still don't know how the hell I got that thing. I just got lucky in his his second shipment. But I'm going to hang that thing up on the wall because it's just frying my brain. And then I've got a V2 controller which will stay in my freestyle quad because it is what it is. But all my commercial stuff will be FETEC, and I'll use regular BL Heli ESCs, not Kiss.
Yeah.
Found the picture.
There's something wrong with that. It's 3 months to ship.
Yeah, and you need to like have big red writing and scratch out the 2 weeks and put 3
It's going to
months.
cost you 1.5 million, 6 months of your life.
Yes, like it. No, but I mean, I've got to order some stuff for the next job, and I put an order in, and I know it's going to take freaking forever to get you. And the local guys, if you're watching, the reason why I ordered it overseas is because you don't got it. So, sorry.
Yeah.
So that's that. Guys, I think we've covered most of this week's things. Oh, wait. There is one more thing I want to say.
Oh, have we just crossed over into rant minute?
Yeah. We're
As we close up, we'll have our rants.
We must do some graphics. Rent.
Ooh, before we rant, can I just ask one more question about...
I refuse.
So, lie irons versus lipos. I saw there was a discussion on one of the FPV groups, and this is leading to my little bit of a dig there, but I am constantly watching the groups, and we kind of bring those topics that make sense in the week, because we're hardworking people. We don't have time to watch. I mean, I know Reno doesn't work, and Takalani only works half day. So and Brandon, I don't think he works. I think he's always online.
Yeah.
So what we do is we scan the groups. We might not necessarily comment all the time, but what the idea of this weekend, the weekend live thing, is to just catch up, and talk about it. And one of the things that was discussed was because of the lipo problems of importing and all that kind of stuff, is lie iron an alternative? Can we fly lie iron, and why are we not flying lie iron?
First and foremost, and the winner is Rainer FPV. Lithium ion is low discharge, so there's a limit. So a lithium ion pack for its same voltage cannot remotely discharge as much current as a LiPo pack, and that's your limit. If you take your 5-inch quad right now at even a 70% throttle, your quad's going to be pulling about 80, 90, 100 amps. To get that voltage out of a lithium ion pack, to get the amperage, you're going to be running a couple of them in parallel. The weight is going to be so much. So it's just plain and simple boils down to the amount of current being pushed out. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. There are guys doing it. But for your regular FPV, high current scenario, it just cannot work.
So they were mentioning things like long range and
Spot on. So
cinematic and that kind of style.
So if you built a purpose-built 7-inch, 8-inch quad that's got long range, efficient motors, efficient props, the thing is set up for efficiency, and you can calculate that within that system you can carry X amount of battery payload, but you only draw X amount of amps, and that falls within line of what that system can put out. Then you're okay to use it. So that's why you see the success in the long range, because at cruise they're barely using 10 to 20 amps. So that system can deliver it. But in our systems, one punch, you could be peaking anywhere between 100 and 180 amps. Some of these guys' quads peak at.
Mm.
And
it's not going
to handle at all.
It won't put it through.
We wish we could, if they could. But then also for the same watt-hour capacity, the lithium ion is heavier. You've got the case to worry about. It's sitting in a metal shell. So as soon as you add more weight for capacity, you get the drawback of the quad's going to perform worse. It now takes more power to fly that weight. So you don't see the benefit in the end. But yeah, success is based on knowing your quad and understanding what that amperage is that you pull and seeing if that system. So the smaller quads, they've built the little one that you plug the one onto, and it flies, but it's barely. But that just showed the limit of it, because the amperage on a single cell was strong enough for that system. But there you have to then skip, and it only starts working again here at 7-inch efficient lightweight setups again, and that's just at the limit.
And so I just want to say, like, didn't we read an article the other day or something about that new technology with regards to the lipos, where that guy could cut the lipo in half and it still worked and all of that nonsense, and it was like millimeters thin. Isn't that technology like around the corner? I mean, in like a year, 2 years time type thing.
So yeah, that's solid state batteries. So solid state batteries are on their way. Sulfur, if I can remember now, it's sulfur carbon batteries.
Yeah.
There's no electrolyte or any liquid system in the physical battery. And you can actually, while the battery is being used, cut it off, and all that you lose is the capacity on the battery. It doesn't blow up. It's got something like 200 to 400% more capacity for the same size, weight, density. It can charge 15 times quicker because of the liquid electric is missing. So Toyota, so it's still at that stage of everybody puts out the videos. It's there, but it's not quite.
Yeah. They're trying to.
The technology is there.
But they're trying to make sure that they own. What's the word?
Yeah.
They want the monopoly.
No, they want to own the idea, because that's why they put it out before it's out.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like.
So you've got all these funky YouTube channels now coming out, going, solid state technology is now out, but it's not. Toyota is now installed it into their first electric EV vehicle as testing, because what's happening is it's officially extending the range of the EV vehicle to 1,000 miles between charges, and it's lowered the charge time of that same vehicle down to 15 minutes.
Oh, come on, Elon.
So that's
we want
Toyota.
batteries.
So that's going into testing now this year. So what they were saying, I think if I saw correctly, it's somewhere between 2025 and 2028. This will basically become market mainstream to the public. So we're in for a treat in terms of the battery, and it is part of our industry that has pushed it, and it is the electric vehicle industry that has pushed the battery technology like this, and they're going to keep pushing.
Have you seen the maths? I actually was following it for a bit. and then I was like, what? So the voltage, and then the size of your prop weight, and then multiplied by the VR. Yeah.
2 + 2 equals 4.
No can't comment live on somebody's flying habits there. Man, been fun as always. You guys, thanks for supporting us. Really awesome having you on board. And have fun. And then to those of you who believe that we don't support you, we do support you. We are for the community. Just because we don't push a like or wave at every video you make doesn't mean we don't notice it. It's just that we are busy. And I mean, I'm new to this whole industry. These guys are the gurus. They've been here forever. We're here to build this industry together, all of us. Yeah. And as Renee says, equals fun factor. Doesn't matter who made it, as long as it makes our flying better. But it's also always interesting to see the tech behind it and that kind of stuff. Guys, enjoy, have fun,
Thanks
and
for pulling in.
Yes, yeah.
remember my hashtag, just keep flying. Have fun. Ciao, guys.
Cheers,
Cheers, cheers.
Wait, don't wave yet. I've got to get there.
Oh, already
Okay,
wait.
okay, wait now. Goodbye.
Bye.
Back to music and blank screen.
Yeah, we're going to go. I can't go back to music because they gave us a WhatsApp. And transition. There we go.
Michael.